This is going to be fun one. 2026 gubernatorial election predictions. I initially was going to make a video for the Senate, but I decided the last second not to upload it and instead do one for governor elections, since I think that this could be a bit more interesting and fun. First of all, who knows how many seats Republicans are even going to have, because 2025 we have governor elections up in Virginia and New Jersey. As of now, we have 27 Republican governorships to 23 Democratic governorships. Republicans flipped Louisiana in 2023. Then 2022, Democrats flipped Maryland, Massachusetts, and Arizona, while Republicans flipped Nevada. 2021, we saw the Republicans flip Virginia. In 2020, we saw Republicans flip, Montana. So over the last 4 years, both sides have effectively broke even. 2019, we saw the Democrats flip Kentucky. 2018, we saw this blue wave where Democrats flipped 7 governorships. They flipped Nevada, they flipped New Mexico, Kansas, Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Maine, although Republicans do get Alaska back. And one of these things I want you to notice is that in general, political climate of these states does not really determine who wins the governorships, because we've seen in a lot of cases the minority party who puts up a strong candidate get the job, win the job. Like there's plenty of Democrats in red states, plenty of Republicans in blue states for governorship. Really, it's the least partisan level that you can have. This is what choose somebody to win thinks. They think 19 Democrat seats and 26 Republican seats with certain notable toss-ups. And this is their first look. This is what the Cook Political Report thinks is going to happen. This is Inside Elections map. This is based on the incumbent party. And we're going to go to a blank map. And again, I really can't look at this from the perspective of what's the political climate of each state. I really can't look at it that way. In this case, you really have to look at everywhere and look. And I'm going to be looking at this and, just looking at what it looks like. But, I mean, doesn't really tell too much of the story. Okay. Let's just do this thing right now. So, Alabama, I think Republicans keep Alabama in the safe column. Alaska, I'll probably put it in the likely column. Again, Duvlani is term limited. And we don't know how this election would have turned out if Bill Walker, as an independent, didn't run, who likely served to take votes away from Duvlani. Fun fact, Bill Walker was actually governor of Alaska from 2014 to 2018. And Alaska's just been one of those states that, in general, has been a bit more in the likely Republican column recently, looking at presidential elections, which I know I said don't take too much stock in them, but just notice how they've been, closer than expected over the past 4 cycles. Last time Alaska was in a safe red column was actually, in a Democrat landslide of 2008. So, that's what I think. Arizona, we'll get back to that one later. Arkansas, I think, is also a safe Republican state. California is a safe Democrat state. California is just one of those ones where, the second that Gavin Newsom won his recall election overwhelmingly, even though the recall was successful. I mean, it's incredible. And even though they're term limited, California is one of the bluest states in the country. And I don't really see this as a situation where they could get nearly enough people to flip, given how it's not just like blue, but it's overwhelmingly blue. I said sometimes it doesn't really matter, but this is a case where I think it does. Colorado, they're saying solid Democrat. And looking at the Republicans, they don't really have anyone strong to put up. I guess all the strong Republican candidates have been, knocked out. But, I mean, even though it's Jared Polis is term limited, you still have Michael Bennet, who could still run. And Phil Weiser, we know is going to run, and he's the Colorado Attorney General. So, I mean, who knows? Right now, Joe Neguse is actually the favorite, but it doesn't take into account Bennett. I'm going to put Colorado in a likely blue column, just because I think that even though Colorado has really shown no indications of possibly going to a Republican anytime soon, I don't think Democrats are going to win it by 15%. Connecticut, last election, Ned Lamont won comfortably. He can run again. I'll actually even put it in a safe column, because I think that the national political environment will favor Democrats to some degree. I don't think it's going to be a total red wave, a blue wave like 2018 was, but still. Florida, DeSantis is term limited, but the state has taken a considerable rightward shift in really every sense. I mean, this could honestly be considered safe. I'm putting it likely because, looking at it recently, Trump still didn't win Florida by 15% as his home state. I know that the amount of, the extreme rightward shift within the state, just looking at the presidential elections, Florida has just been like this honestly weird one, because I don't really think any state has taken as nearly as much of a rightward shift as Florida has over the last decade. 2012, Obama wins, but by 0.88%. Looking at 2016, Trump wins, but only by 1.2%. It's close. 2020 wins by 3.4%, and in 2024, blows House out of the water 13.1%. But it still is not 15, so I think that there's a chance, a small chance, that maybe it's closer. Georgia, a fun one. Georgia's a fun one because we have Brian Kemp as the Republican, and he beat her by a lot in 2022, but 2018 was very close. Probably one of the big signs that Georgia could potentially be turning into a big swing state, and we saw this on full display in 2020. Anyway, Kemp can't run. Chris Carr, the Georgia Attorney General, is running. Unfortunately, Marjorie Taylor Greene has expressed interest in running, and we can see the lieutenant governor run. Stacey Abrams has expressed interest in running against for this race. Jason Carter, who is actually the grandson of Jimmy Carter, is also putting himself out there. This is truly a major toss-up. But, I'm not just going to come back to this one later. I think that this one is going to still lean Republican. The reason why I think that is because I don't think Democrats can really do enough to flip the governorship. And I think that, unlike the Senate races, even in the governor elections, Republicans have tended to fare a little bit better than their counterparts running for the Senate. Because remember, in 2022, I told you that Kemp overwhelmingly beat Stacey Abrams, and yet Warnock convincingly wins re-election in the Senate. So that's basically why. Concurrent elections and two wildly different results. But I think for the governorship, they have an advantage. Hawaii has not shown any indication of it ever not being blue. So congratulations. You are a safe blue state. Idaho will be in the safe red column. Illinois will be in a safe blue column, as it always is. Kansas is a fun one. Because Kansas is truly one of those states where, you have a popular Democratic incumbent who flipped the race narrowly in by pretty much, there was a third party that likely split the votes, and it allowed Laura Kelly as a Democrat to slip through in 2018. But you can see here, Kansas has not elected two consecutive governors of the same party since 1964, which actually kind of shocks me, considering that 1964 is probably one of the biggest blue waves in U.S. history because, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, 2022, Laura Kelly maintains a seat, but it's a lot closer. Now in 2026, Laura Kelly can't run. Trump wins the state by a double-digit margin. He wins the state by over 16%. And they really need a strong blue wave in 2018 to win. And they have a supermajority in both chambers. Laura Kelly can't run. She is term limited. I think that Kansas is actually going to go in a likely Republican column. Prove me wrong. Maine is going to be a fun one. Because Janet Mills is term limited. But lots of Democrats are in the running. And there's plenty of strong Democrats here. Republicans, they also don't really have any strong candidates. They probably have even less strong candidates than the Democrats do. I think it leans Democrat. But we don't really know who's going to run. Maryland and Massachusetts are just the epitome of, how sometimes really strong Republicans can get through. Because in 2022, it's a landslide win for Democrats. 2018, despite a red wave, though, Charlie Baker demolishes his opponent. But then chooses not to run in 2022. And the rest is history. Granted, he did need help of both a super weak Democratic candidate and a red wave to help him. 2026 in Maryland also looks safe. Again, Larry Hogan can't run, and so the Democrats smash this race. 2018, though, Larry Hogan wins convincingly, and he won in 2014. Granted, he needed the help of a red wave to do it. And, I'm putting both these states in a safe Democratic column. I just did want to point out how I think that is an interesting aspect. Michigan, you have a term-limited governor in a swing state where, look at all of these Republican candidates, and some of these are reasonably strong prospects. Democrats, again, we don't exactly know. But I think Michigan is still going to lean Democrat in a favorable environment. Minnesota, Walz can run for re-election. I think he will win in a likely column. Nebraska, I think, will be safe. Nevada, we'll just hit later. New Hampshire is honestly a bit of a weird one. Because everyone really would have thought in 2024, when Sununu didn't run for re-election after putting up amazing numbers, that he would just be done for. That Democrats would flip the New Hampshire governorship. And, I mean, the polls did indicate it leaning Republican, but, I mean, the fact that Kelly Ayotte won by this much really shows this. And New Hampshire is a state that Democrats won by 3%, and it's just this weird. It's just this really weird state in my opinion, because in 2024, the House of Representatives in New Hampshire, Republicans expand on their majority, 222 to 178 after it was trimmed down to 201 to 199 from 2022. In the Senate for New Hampshire, it's 16 to 8. So it has Republicans affect that in New Hampshire. Yet, Democrats control both of the seats in New Hampshire. Both of them. District 2 comes down to 5.9%. District 1 comes down to not about 9%. And they also have 2 Democratic senators, yada, yada, yada. I mean, given the governorship trend, I'll just put it in the lean Republican column for now. New Mexico is term limited, but it's weird because there aren't really people who I could see for the Republican Party. There aren't really that many strong candidates. Whereas the former Secretary of the Interior, Deb Haaland, is running for re-election. She was also the former representative for New Mexico's 1st congressional district. And I mean, given New Mexico's political trajectory, I'm just going to put in a likely Democratic column, but you never know. Ohio, DeWine's term limited, but I think it goes likely Republican just based on Ohio's recent political trends of it really backing away from a swing state and locking hard down towards the Republican Party. Oklahoma, I don't think I need to say anything more. Oregon, I also think this is relatively obvious. Pennsylvania, so Josh Shapiro, we don't know if he's going to run for re-election. He is eligible to do so. He is absolutely eligible to do so. And Republicans, they have some interesting options. Do you put up the guy who lost in 2022 against Shapiro and hope that he wins in a rematch? Well, given how Shapiro won this election by 15% in 2022, I don't think you can do that. I mean, granted, I know that it was not a favorable environment for Republicans, but Evers beat a weak Republican candidate by only 3% in Wisconsin. Michigan is 11%. So, I don't really know. I don't think you can put him up. I think if you put him up, a far-right Doug Mastriano up, he's not going to win. Pennsylvania Treasurer, though, that's a possible option. But there aren't too many other strong names. If Shapiro runs, I think he wins it, and I'm going to put this in the likely Democratic column because I'm a little bit aggressive as to how it is. And, I missed a lot of states. I missed New York. New York is honestly a weird one because it's a very, very blue state. But Kathy Hochul has low approval ratings. She might lose in a primary. Jamal Bowman or Richie Torres or even Antonio Delgado could primary her. And while she likely would win a primary, she's vulnerable in a primary. Republicans, they don't really have too many options. They could do Bruce Blakeman. They could also do Mike Laura. But it's very tough for Republicans to win in New York. That being said, I do want to draw your attention to 2022. Hochul wins by, less than 7% against Lee Zeldin, who is also very far right. And Hochul barely wins. Put up a strong candidate, and I don't know. I think this goes tilt Democrat, because I think that New York, they don't really have a popular Democratic incumbent. But again, it's very tough to flip. And personally, I hope Hochul doesn't win as a resident, considering what she plans on doing, in the state of New York. But, I don't really know what they could do. New York has shown signs of, being slightly more competitive now, just looking at the presidential elections. Notice how New York is in the lean blue column at 12.6% for Harris, and it was solid blue in every single election dating back to 1992. And I'm not even joking. Look at how consistently blue it's been. And now the Republicans finally trimmed the margins. Senate, too. I get that Gillibrand won by 18.3. Schumer wins by 14%. After he just won in 2016 by 43%. So New York has shown signs of potentially being more competitive. New York, I think, is going to be tilt Democrat. Rhode Island, I think, is going to be relatively safe for Democrats to hold on to. South Carolina and South Dakota should be easy wins for the Republicans. Tennessee, it's term limited, but it's still Tennessee. Texas, I think, likely Republican based on the political trajectory of the state. Vermont is very weird because it's one of the bluest states in the country. Yet, Phil Scott just keeps consistently kicking ass in these elections. Even though it's one of the bluest states in the country, Phil Scott still consistently wins. But we don't know if Phil Scott's going to run yet. And this race is so interesting. If Phil Scott runs, it's safe Republican. Otherwise, it's probably safe Democrat, actually, given how blue Vermont is. For now, I'm just putting Vermont as a toss-up. Now, I don't actually think that Vermont is going to be a toss-up. I just think it's either going to be safe red or safe blue, and we have no idea yet what's going to happen because, again, we don't know if Phil Scott's running for re-election. Whereas Wisconsin is a state that honestly could be a true toss-up given the insane swing stateness, but we don't know if Tony Evers is going to run. I think that Wisconsin is going to lean blue. And now, well, Wyoming is going to be safe red. And now we have 4 races left. Now, Nevada and Arizona are interesting swing states that we're going to hit on later. And I forgot Iowa, that's likely Republican. But first we're going to look at Virginia and New Jersey, because they actually elect their candidates in 2025. Virginia is projected to be tilt Democrat. New Jersey is projected to be lean Democrat. Now in New Jersey and Virginia, the incumbents cannot run. So in New Jersey, Cory Booker is not running. You have the mayor of Newark who declared, the mayor of Jersey City, the representative of the 5th District and the 11th District, president of the New Jersey Education Association, and a former president of the New Jersey Senate for the Democrat side. And for the Republican side, you have the state senator from the 21st District and a former minority leader of the New Jersey General Assembly. You have the nominee for governor in 2021 and candidate in 2017. You have, plenty of options, but the big names we don't really know yet. And we've seen, even a popular incumbent filmer, if he win by only 3%. After in 2017, he wins by 15%. I mean, granted, 2018 was a blue wave, and we're likely going to see 2026 be a similar political environment, but I don't think it's going to be as much of a blue wave, given just how polarized politics have become. 2020, it was only 5.9% for New Jersey anyway, and I don't know. Looking at the General Assembly election in New Jersey, Democrats have a 52-28 majority. It was trimmed down to 46-34, and now Democrats are back on the verge of a supermajority. The New Jersey Senate election in 2023, again, 25-15. We saw Republicans make inroads in 21, but then they got reversed in 23. I don't know. New Jersey, I think, is going to lean Democrat. Virginia. Glenn Youngkin won this race in 2021 by 1% against Terry McAuliffe. Bit of a surprise. Granted, a lot of polls had it leaning Republican, but then you have to realize something. The Virginia House of Delegates flips red, 52-48 in 21, only to flip back to being blue, 51-49 in 2023. And the Senate, which was not up in 2021, Republicans do cut into the margin in 2023. It goes to 21-19 from 22-18. But, it's still not an encouraging sign. And now you have Glenn Youngkin, who cannot run in 2025. You have quite a few candidates for the Republican side. Democrat side also have some candidates, but there's not really any strong candidate on either side. So I low-key think that Virginia is going to tilt Republican. Just on the lines of you already have a Republican. They might keep one. I don't know. Democrats don't really seem to have any strong candidates. I don't know. Now, Arizona is weird because you have Andy Biggs, who's a huge Trump acolyte, I'm pretty sure. and not really a lot of moderates. And Democrats, the incumbent governor is likely running for re-election, who flipped the seat because Democrats put up a far-right candidate in 2022. Nevada was also interesting. Joe Lombardo is running for a second term. The Attorney General will be running against him, and this race will get very interesting. I mean, personally for me, I think both states keep their incumbents, tilt for Arizona, lean for Nevada, and thus this is what I think your map is.